Hey, I wanted to welcome everyone over to Have Your Best Week Ever. That's right, have your best week ever. You know what? We're on the first day of spring. In most parts of the country, it doesn't really feel like spring, but I wanted to welcome you over. And we're going to spend a little time together this evening going through some things or growing through some things because what we're going to be talking about is your growth plan. What is your growth plan? I want to challenge you to think about what are you going to do to grow today? And then what are you going to do to grow tomorrow? So let's just say, what are you going to do to grow daily? I think that's the key thing is what can I do to grow daily? So I want to challenge you to just begin to think about that. And if you've not had a chance to go over to the Facebook group and join us inside the Facebook group, have your best week ever. I put a couple tools in there that'll help you reflect and kind of lay out your growth plan or begin that process. Because this is going to be an ongoing conversation that we have in helping you have your best week ever. So I want to challenge you to do that. And, I'm going to do a couple things here. I need to go over to the Facebook group myself and let people know we're going live inside of Have Your Best Week Ever. So just bear with me as I type in a few things. I saw the email that went out to the group had an incorrect link. So you can simply go over to Have Your Best Week Ever always and join us. That's the easiest way to hop on with us. But I want to just type a note and let everyone know that, hey, that's where we are and that we're going live on Have Your Best Week Ever. So instead of going live, we're growing live. Let's do that tonight. Growing live now. All right. So if you see me away from the camera a little bit because I'm typing. As you can see, this is live. Have a call coming in as always. That's the way it seems to happen. Just want to get this out. It's something we got to correct for next week. But let's see. Have your best week ever. Ever.com. Right, so simply just go over there and join. But as I said, we're going to be growing live and having a good time today. And so just please share it and share the link with others if you would. And, only going to spend about 30 minutes. That's what we try to do. And one of the things we're going to do, because we're coming into the summertime, we're going to move the time back a little bit on Sunday nights simply because people are out enjoying the evening. I know I had to cut some things short this afternoon simply to get in time and plan properly. So I wanted to share that with you. So let me just get right into it. I want to get into the lesson that we planned today. So I'm going to hit here. Let's see. Have your best week ever. There we go. All right, so you should be seeing my screen right now, and I want to make sure that my screen is up and we're going live. That's the key thing. Always, when you're self-producing a show, is that you want to make sure that what you're seeing on your side of the screen is what people are seeing out there. So it'll be just one moment, but right now you should be seeing a slideshow. So let's get it up here properly. Talking about your growth plan. I'm asking you, are you preparing for a winning season? And I chose to have a couple images from spring training because that's what's going on right now, baseball. And in my life, a lot of you know me personally, and I've had a chance to follow me and connect with me. You know my passion for baseball. Part of that is because my son plays baseball, and but hey, it's that time of the year. I love baseball, and love getting out, having a good time at the ballpark and enjoying a good time at the ballpark. So I challenge you to just ask yourself this question as it relates to your growth plan. We're in the first quarter of 4 quarters, and the great thing about it is it's a great time to do a barometer check. Our next lesson, we're going to actually share a little bit about ending the first quarter. When I say ending the first quarter, just some things that'll help you reflect on that first quarter. But right now, I want to talk about preparing and for that season, preparing for your winning season. So as we get started here, first of all, what are your goals? I want you to revisit those goals. And, this is a definition that just kind of resonates a little bit. What is a goal? An observable and measurable end result, having one or more objectives to be achieved within a more or less fixed time frame. So basically, as we always like to say, SMART goals. SMART goals are those goals that are specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, and time bound. So, I want you to ask yourself that. Do you have those goals? And then the next question, as you talk about those goals, is do you have a plan to grow into those goals? Do you have a plan to grow into those goals? So I want you to think about that, because growth is natural. It's the springtime of the year. A couple weeks ago, I was traveling throughout North Louisiana on a baseball trip again. Passed by some huge fields, and it was talking about growth. I was talking about growth. You saw farmers out there planting seeds. So, growth is natural. Everything on earth has a gestation period. Our goals have a gestation period. The bigger the goals, sometimes either the longer or the more effort they take. And I think it is a byproduct of the two. The amount of effort that we put into it, as well as time. And I want to say that a little bit different too, and kind of frame that a little bit for you. It's really consistent effort. So we've got to be okay with that, consistent effort. So I asked the question again, what is your growth plan? But as we talk about that, one of the hardest things about it is, and this, I'm gonna have a lot of baseball stories or analogies. As you can see, this is just an image of a player in Major Leagues. Guy's taking a big lead, and he's at first base. So as you get ready to steal second base, the hardest step about stealing second base is taking your foot off first base. I think that's where a lot of us are stuck at as people. We're stuck on first base. We're stuck in our comfort zone. We're stuck where we are. So I want to challenge you to begin to think about, what must I do to get unstuck? Well, one of the first things to do is to work on yourself. And you're here watching this broadcast, hanging out with us, because you want to develop yourself. That's right. You want to develop yourself. And as you work to develop yourself, I want you to know it's all about potential. There is a lot inside of you that has yet to be realized. So one of the things that we want to do is help you identify some areas to develop a plan. So the first one is personal. What are those big goals that you want to achieve, your personal goals? What are those goals? I want you to write that down. Write one of those down. What are one of those big personal goals? And then the next area that you want to look at is business. And for you, it may be work. It may be, I want to hit these sales numbers, or I want to lead this project inside of the company that I'm working for. Or if you own your own business, it may be certain sales goals. It may be building a certain team. So whatever it is, I want you to write one of those goals down. Then the next area is family. Because one of the things is that, a lot of times you hear people say, well, they have a balanced life. But I think that they have a life in harmony. Balance means that things are equal. Yeah, it means things are equal. And I really don't think that they're ever equal, but we must have it within harmony. And then that leads to spiritual. As I get a drink of water here, but that leads to spiritual, which helps round that harmony out, helps create that path and that plan for us. And then lastly, financial. So those are 5 areas I want you to look at, and oftentimes you hear life coaches talk about the wheel of life and how do you rate in those areas. But as you work to develop a plan, I want to challenge you to, let's talk about developing a plan for those areas, because I think the plan is the key part. Once we've identified the areas and say, hey, this is something I want to move forward in, do I have a plan? Do you have a plan to make it happen? Do you have a plan to grow? Do you have a plan? I mean, when you travel, and we like to always talk about GPS, GPS requires a plan. And what I mean by that is it's simply, we have to know where we're growing to or where we're going to in order to grow there. And to make that happen, we must have a plan. So, a lot of times people never ask the question of themselves, why? Many people never ask why. And why is that? I think a lot of times we're afraid of the answer that we find within ourselves. But when we ask ourselves why, we come up with the reasons to propel through our goals, to really move forward with our goals. So I want to challenge you to, as you think about those goals that we talked about in those various areas, I want you to realize that you must have a strong why for accomplishing those goals, for growing in those areas. And if you would, just simply, I'm sorry about that. I had a couple people had a little trouble logging in, and let me just sew that up here. But no, I want you to just begin to think about your plan. What is it that you want, but then more so why you want it? Why is it important to you? Why is it important to you to achieve those goals? I think the why is more important than the what. We have an acronym for why that we utilize called What Helps You. When you write that out, why is what helps you. It is what will help you through the journey. When I say through the journey, I mean whatever that path is, that road that you are looking to travel, that is the journey. That is your journey. My journey is different than yours. Your journey is different than mine. And it has to be your journey. And the key thing about your journey, I want you to understand that is that your journey is worth it. It will be worth it if that why is big enough. So it's very important that you have a strong why for all the goals that you set. And I say goals, but it's a strong why for all the growth that you set. Because today we're talking about growing. If you have that goal is something that you're not. I want you to understand that. And so you're going to have to grow daily in order to grow into that goal, to reach that goal, to be that new person. Because if you're already that person, then this is not a new goal for you. So I want you to be comfortable and okay with that. The other thing I want you to realize, and I said daily because we have multiple targets that we have to hit along our growth plan, our growth journey, in order to realize that goal. So be okay with the fact that growth is not a single event. Growth is not a single event. I want you to be okay with that and be comfortable with that. And then that's where you're going to go in to begin to develop strategies and to develop a system to help you create that growth plan. So, on this call here, on this hangout here, I'm really working and striving to help you see that you must have a plan and see that you must begin to Develop a system in order to make happen whatever it is that you want, whatever those big dreams, those big goals are that we talked about earlier. You're going to have to put a plan in place, and that's where a growth plan is important. Now, here's the scary part, and here's where a lot of people get stuck at it. And I use this picture here because, one of the journeys I'm on personally is a weight loss journey or a lifestyle change journey. And really, what that is about trade-offs. So your growth is going to be about taking what you used to do and trading it for something better to serve your goals, to serve your growth. And I think that is the key thing. You must be comfortable with that. Now, the other thing is as we sit here and you see this rubber band, Dr. John Maxwell has a law he calls the law of the rubber band. And what happens is that rubber band in its original phase is not worth anything. It has to be stretched. So mediocrity is not a worthy goal. You want to stretch yourself. You want to stretch yourself and say, okay, where am I at today? And where can I be tomorrow? Where can I be 90 days from now? The time of this recording, we're ending one quarter, going into another quarter in a couple weeks. Where can I be at the end of that quarter? So where can you be? So I want you to stretch yourself. Stretch yourself. Because in order to grow, you must stretch. Another thing that you're going to do as you work and stretch yourself, you're really going to examine where you are today. Where am I at? You're looking at this image here and you're saying, Howard, I don't quite get it. But this is your outer limits. These are your edges. This is your outer limit currently. And you want to continuously move them out. You want to stretch them. You want to stretch them in all areas. In all areas of your life. You want to continuously stretch. A lot of times people say you cannot grow in more than one area. I don't think that's true, because momentum kicks in, and as you become this new person, you continuously grow further and further, further and further. And that's the key thing, is that you have to be comfortable with pushing yourself. You have to be comfortable with pushing yourself. I mean, you're the toughest person to lead. You're the toughest person to ensure that you do those trade-offs that we were talking about, because that's internal. Self-governance is the toughest form of governance. It's easy to do the easy thing. It's when we face with challenges, do we do the thing that's going to serve us best, serve our goals best, serve our growth best. So I want you to begin to ask yourself that. And as you find those outer edges, continually push out, move forward. As they say, go out into the deep water. Because when you're out in the deep water fishing, you have bigger fish. I mean, fishing in a shallow brook, fish only get so big. Keeping in with that baseball analogy. As you advance on, yes, the competition gets tougher. Yes, it gets harder. But as you push yourself and press forward, then you will see yourself growing. And then the last thing I want to kind of leave with you about growth is that you need to bring a team along with you. You want to help them grow so they can grow forward. Help others grow along the path that you're going. One of the things that about helping others growing is that the more people you help grow, the more you grow. Now, I always say when you're teaching and you're training, you really learn 3 times. You learn when you prepare. There are some things I discovered as I was getting ready for this call, as I was preparing for this. And then as you deliver, there are going to be insights and thoughts that come to you that you had never thought about before. And then lastly, as you reflect upon what you went through, you realize that, hey, I'm growing. I had some other things that I could do. Now, what you see here on this image here is a flock of geese, and you often see them flying as they fly south or back north. Why do they fly in such a formation, kind of a V-shaped formation? Well, there are several things. Number one is that they're part of a team. And as you see the lead bird there, he's putting up the most resistance to the wind. And so as that person gets tired, he falls back in. And that's what you want to be as a leader. You want to have a team that can help, if you would, help you fly farther, help you, break that wind, because by yourself is tough. So following a leader is great. You want to follow a leader, but you want to be a leader also. And I challenge you to just take that principle that the geese have. So before we close, and I just wanted to give you a little gift for staying with us here and sharing with us. Just simply text the word reward to 225-412-7300. I have a book for you it's an ebook on priorities, so you'll be able to download it, and it's going to help you work on your own growth plan. I promise you that. I promise you that will help you move forward. But as we talk about what is your growth plan, so I'm going to a little bonus thought here for you before we close out tonight. And I always say I like to keep this under 30 minutes because it's a Sunday night, because now it's time for you to go to work. We talked about that goal. What is your goal? And then you write, what is your plan? Now, if you would like a copy of this, just simply go over to Have Your Best Week Ever. That's right, Have Your Best Week Ever, and you're able to download that. When will you start that? When will I start it? When will I finish? What resources are needed? And how will the desired outcomes be? You want to define those desired outcomes. What are they? Then some other questions you're going to ask that's going to help you develop this plan as you reflect. What should I do more of to make this happen? How will this help me? What should I do less of? You should have I call it the DNA. Do not answer. Do not be. What are you going to stop being? And who are you going to stop calling? And how are not doing these things going to help me? What new things could I do? So think about the new things that you can do to make this happen. And then how will this help me? So you want to always ask that question. Once you decide what it is that you're doing, then reflect back and say, hey, how will this help me? Just think about that. How will this help me? And then another format in which we utilize, we work with our clients on it, because one of the big things is the vision. So when you talk about the vision, that personal goal, what will I achieve? Vision, and I heard it put so eloquently not too long ago. I was reading, and it just came to me that the vision is that pictorial preview, that picture of your purpose. Yeah, it's your purpose lived out, but in a picture format. And then now, as you have that vision, what is the plan? What strategies you're going to use to achieve that goal? And then what resources do you need? You want to be intentional. You want to be selfish. You want to write those resources down that can help you reach those goals and grow. And then what are going to be the benchmarks? How are you going to know when you achieve the goal? What evidence will be there? And then constantly along the way. We challenge you to do it weekly. Inside of Have Your Best Week Ever, you can actually download a planning system called Top of Life Planner. Well, it's a growth planner, it's a full planner, and I actually have a month's version in there as a PDF for you to download and utilize to help you grow and be more. So I challenge you to download that information, and it will help you. So as we finish up here, I wanted to invite you over to a call that we're doing called 15K in 45 minutes. It's a live hot seat call. The first one will, I'm sorry, the next one, because will be the first Monday. I'm sorry, no, it'll be tomorrow, the time of this recording. So March the 31st, 21st, you can hop on and actually join us in the afternoon, but simply go over 15K in 45 minutes. It'll give you the details of it. And what we do is work with business owners. It's a call for business owners and aspiring business owners, but we actually interview one business owner and ask them a series of questions and try to identify new revenue streams for them. And my goal is, and inside of 45 minutes, is to find at least 15,000 new dollars in their business in that short time frame. So I want to challenge you to go over and join that call. And I would like to leave you with this here. Just remember, planning is not optional. Planning is not optional. So if you fail to plan, you know what's going to happen. You've heard the phrase in the quote before. If you plan to fail, then you fail to plan. So therefore, planning is not optional. So I want to challenge you to just think about that and feel free to share this information and this call with people on a regular basis. Is something that we do every Sunday. We'll probably skip Easter Sunday, but we try to do this to help others. But like I said, it helps me grow and it forces me to develop. And I challenge you to do similar. Love your feedback. Please go over to the group and just post on what you got out of it, as well as the tools that we showed you are available inside the group for you to download. Just simply click, and I created them as a Word document so you can work through them and grow and put that plan in place. So I challenge you to do that. But as you think about this week, I want you to reflect on last week and say, hey, what did I do great? What did I do great? And then ask yourself again, what will be my big outcomes? We talk about beginning with the end in mind. So beginning with the end in mind is really just saying, hey, I'm going to look at this week. What great things will I accomplish this week? And then you put the plan in place to make them happen this week. So I want to challenge you to do that and go out and be the best you possible, because guess what? Everyone else is taken. As I promised, I always try to be around 30 minutes or even sometimes a little less, because I'm respectful of your time, and I know your time is very valuable. And just like everybody else, we only have 1,440 minutes in a day. And I don't want to waste not 1 minute of your time. So hopefully this information has been beneficial for you and will help you grow and be the best you possible. Take care, God bless, and we shall see you on the next Hangout.